Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Injustice 2. We are back here in Injustice 2 with everyone's favorite micro-sized hero and scientist, the Atom. He's of course the newest character that came out, and today's video is just gonna be kind of just like various tips and tricks that I've picked up with the Atom while playing and I've seen other people do. I definitely want to main this character, and I think he has a lot of tricks, and I think it's gonna take some time until his whole repertoire is fully explored, because he is a weird character. He doesn't really play like anyone else in the game, and he doesn't fit a particular archetype, but he has a lot of tricky stuff, and today I'm just gonna be talking about some of these various tricky things that I've noticed. First of all, worth mentioning that the Atom is a power user or power character, so he can do all the throw interactables and all that. Even though these have been kind of nerfed, it's still good to know. Alright, the first thing that is worth talking about is Atom's float. Now the thing about Atom is that he really lacks a serious overhead threat. In terms of moves, he really only has his forward 3, and this is not a good forward 3. It doesn't really have good range. I would put it at like slightly better than Gorilla Grodd's forward 3. It's not the best. His other overhead threat is the jump 3, which is better. This is a good jump 3. I'd put it somewhere between. Probably a bit better than Raiden's and not as good as Batman's jump 2. But it's a good jump. However, the float actually gives Atom a real overhead threat. Just like Blue Beetle. You know, Blue Beetle can do the same thing with the float. Go into an overhead jump attack, cancel into the float, and do something like this. So yeah, he can actually do a double overhead and link into a full combo. Let me just show this. This does, oops, I screwed up the end, but it does decent damage, and it always leads into a setup, which we'll get into. So the float, if you want to start or have an overhead starter, you should always go for the float. It can also, of course, save you from tricky situations. You jump and you have like a death shot that does like, I don't know, meter burn low rifle, or you see a Dr. Fate doing the orb float and you can cancel it into teleport. So the float is very useful and very underused. And of course, you can do stuff like that. I think there is a way to, yeah, you can make that combo. And that's basically 2 overheads into a low. And you can do just, you can, yeah, you can also go into a low just after it. Very, very important, the float. Second observation, we kind of mentioned the teleport. The teleport is incredibly useful when done in the air. I'm gonna try demonstrating the difference, but look at the teleport on the ground. Do you see how there is quite a bit of startup to it? It's actually fairly difficult to counter zone with the ground teleport because he has to jump in the air like that. And I fought strong zoners like Darkseid and all that, and you really just get blown up if you mistime it. However, the air teleport has almost no startup on it because the startup is supposed to be the fact that you jump. Now combine that with instant airing. The instant air teleport is a ridiculous tool. I'm still getting used to the input. I of course play on pad, so instant airs are a little bit tricky. This is not like a hitbox, but do you see, like, if you do it correctly, did you see how low you can do the teleport off the ground? It is kind of ridiculous, and this way the teleport has no startup. So if you're very good with your instant airing, it is much easier to react to any type of projectile with this than it is with the normal ground teleport. Of course, the teleport is an incredibly strong tool. It leads into a cross-up attack. Not a full combo launching cross-up attack, but yeah, this is not like Supergirls. You don't use this to go for combos. You just go for this, bam. You are in kind of a good position. If you knock away your opponent with this, you can set up one of your chemicals. You can go, if you want to spend another meter to kill, maybe you can go for that. So you get a lot of stuff off of that, because with the range it leaves you, there's not many opponents who have a wake up that will blow that up. So getting like good with the instant airing, and believe me, I'm still practicing, that was a good one. and getting consistent with that is incredibly useful because it's just like Raiden. This becomes almost as fast as Raiden's teleport, I think. Very useful tool. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the trait. The trait really is Adam's bread and butter. Essentially, from what I've seen people play him, anytime you have the trait, use it. There's really very few downsides. If you know how to use the trait correctly, there's really very few downsides to using it unless you get blown up. You can get hit out of it, but just be careful. Remember that you can start your trait from the air. So something like float, I think you can cancel float into trait. Yes, you can. Like this, as you can see, was a full combo. So do remember that. You can go like something like this. Again, you can do it from a jump in. That is a combo. There are a lot of ways to start up trait, not just in the neutral like that. You can kind of be tricky with your opponent, go from a string, especially if you do a string that's like this into it. Again, what I recommend is anytime you have the trait, use it, because I mean, look how much mileage you get out of that. That was a 278 damage combo for basically free. I mean, I did nothing but mash with full corner carry to boot. So the trait is incredibly strong. It's one of his main tools. Some observations. When you exit the trait, there's a brief cooldown. This is unsafe. There are certain characters that can punish you. If you let the trait go fully, then you're kind of screwed. However, not always. For the regular trait deactivation, the slow cooldown, you can always do it right after hitting your opponent with a move. And as you can see, because your opponent is still floating through the air, you actually recover almost at the same time as your opponent does. Whereas if I do this and wait for Adam to go back onto the ground, the opponent has more of a chance to punish. I can't seem to, yeah. Like, this is not good. You should always go for the hit and immediately into the cancel if you want to cancel it. Because a lot of the times, a lot of characters will not be able to do anything about that. Just some other things, you can, if you want to go for the full trait and wait for it to run out, I would suggest to wait until you're farther away. At this range, a lot of opponents at max can punish you with a projectile. Of course, there are some exceptions. Supergirl, Black Adam would probably be painful because the lightning he does a lot of damage. But again, if you want the full trait, you want the long cooldown, make sure to be farther away from the opponent, because maybe in certain situations it's worth getting hit by a projectile or something. Still, I would rather advise to go for the quick cooldown. Just some other things, of course, Adam can start the teleport, or not the teleport, the trait from 2 strings. Well, all strings, but these ones can go straight into very easily. That one and this one. These are the main strings you kind of wanna, I would say, cancel the trait from. So again, yeah, the trait is very useful, and the cooldown on it is actually not as much as you would think. In terms of keep away, this is useful. The projectile, the EX one actually moves very slowly. It's fairly good at controlling space. And it can lead into a full combo from pretty much anywhere. If you're fully full screen, it might be, see, it's kind of tricky to get in. It might be better advised to go for a teleport. Even if you don't do the instant air teleport, just the ground one, you can get that. The other advantage of that is meter build. If you don't really care about corner positioning, oops, and you go for this. Oops, I screwed up the combo, but execution. Okay, here we go. Why am I missing that? I suck. But you get the idea. What I'm trying to demonstrate is if you... Fucking hell. I really do suck, don't I? I swear I can hit this combo. I'm not just being an idiot. But you get the idea. The idea I'm trying to demonstrate here is... fucking hell. Okay, we're gonna give up. Look at my meter there. It's about, I would say, a quarter of the way through. If I do this and dash in, look at my meter there. I stopped my combo intentionally there to demonstrate. So yeah, doing the teleport does build a little bit more meter. If you don't care about corner positioning and you're like fully far away from the enemy, worth going for. Finally, just some other things. This on meter burn is 0 on block. So if you do one of the more unsafe moves, he has a few, I think. Oh yeah, that's always there. It's kind of funny. If you do an unsafe move, I don't know what, but you can always cancel it into this. Like, down one into this is fairly good. Of course, 0 really means nothing on block, but it's still 0. Going for this is worth it anyways because it's a low and it has like deceptively good range. So you can even go something for like double low for some damage. He has kind of, again, like tricky stuff that chips away at your health and you look at it and suddenly you're dead. So that's what really I think Adam excels at. Finally, just to mention the chemicals. I honestly think that mid-screen, this is the most useful one. It is a slow advancing projectile. You can get good damage off of it, even if you don't do the EX one. You can still combo off of it if you think you're gonna hit your opponent. So this one I would say is probably the one worth going for at the end of every combo. Which you have to be quick here with your input. There we go. But yeah, this one is okay in certain situations. You can go for a back throw, but as you can see, because Adam's throw doesn't actually move you, you cannot like throw him into it. So mid-screen, this is a lot less useful, I would say. Now in the corner, we have a different story. In the corner, you can go for the damage over time one. That one is decent. I mean, the thing about Adam's trait also is it does a lot of good chip. Let's just actually take a look at this. If I set him to block mode always, let's say I set this up. That is good chip, and in the end you can go for a throw. So yeah, that is for sure very useful. However, I would say that the most useful one of the experiments in the corner is the red one. The red one is kind of ridiculous. It prevents jumping and it prevents backdashing. Now, that is stronger than you would think, because here you literally just have to guess. Throws become much more of a threat. Any type of low becomes, any kind of mix-up becomes much more of a threat. Like, God, I'm doing the wrong input. This becomes a pretty good threat. Every option is more threatening when you're standing in this, because there's not much you can do. You cannot jump, again, cannot dash. So I would say that the red one is for sure the one worth going for. Not to mention that this is +5 on block. Now, as I said before, 0, okay, that's 0, but +5 is good. +5, once again, throw becomes a threat. So the red one can really be used to threaten the opponent in the corner. The blue one, I would say, is also has its place. Maybe if you think your opponent is gonna clash or something like that, you want to get the meter advantage, it is something that can be considered. So just switch back to mid-screen. This has really been kind of all I have with the Adam in terms of like tips and tricks. Again, I think there's still a lot with this character. He actually has, I would say, decent keep away with the stomp. Again, also I've noticed not many people do the stomp, but it's actually very powerful. The instant air teleport, counter zoning, he is very tricky. And again, he excels at chipping down your HP. Really fun character. Hope you guys enjoyed these various Adam tips and tricks. If you have anything else regarding this character, make sure to leave it in the comments. I will be sure to check it out. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.